Well, hello there, friends, and welcome back. This is a random Tuesday afternoon. Reminds me of the Moody Blues song. As I'm sitting here in my backyard trying to absorb some of this beautiful sun, it's supposed to be like in the mid 70s today. It's a perfect spring day. I can't help but think I should be at work right now because I originally took the day off to go to the coast, but we had transmission problems naturally, so I had to come back and deal with that. So right now I am taking a break from working on the car, realizing I have a sealed transmission. There's no way to check it, so I have to take it into a shop and trust that they know what they're doing, because that's another story altogether. But this particular video I thought would be it would be a good time to talk about complications. Life is complicated. It just brings to mind this song, Mac Miller song, Complicated. I think it pretty much sums it up for me. And in the song, he mentions, a few lines that I really resonate with. One is, I'm way too young to be getting old. Another one is, can I just get through today without any complications? And I think that's just part of our nature, to want to be able to lead a life that's complication free. There are some people out there, however, who really embrace that challenge of very complex lives. In other words, the kind of people who get up, the type A personality, I guess it is, who get up in the morning, they write down their listicles and they do all the crap that they need to do, and they enjoy getting things done. But I can't help but wonder, is this just part of our programming to ourselves in order to get by? Should we have to force ourselves to always be on, always be working, always be worrying about something? There's always something to do. And it's of my opinion, this man's opinion, that we have not evolved to have this complicated of a life. Even up until a few thousand years ago, even up till a few hundred years ago, I mean, life was relatively simple in the sense that, we may have suffered and had a lower, a higher instance of deaths and, lower birth rates, and as far as surviving children, I mean, our average human lifespan has increased significantly, and we talk a lot about that. Like, look at how far we've come. We have electricity, we have technology, we have all these things that help us live longer lives. Yet at the same time, I can't help but notice that one aspect of this is that we're constantly worrying about stupid shit that we can't do anything about. And even the things that we can do something about, we become indecisive and don't know what to do. We don't know which decision to make. Let me give you an example, something like retirement. Do you know that you're going to live old enough to get your retirement? Should you start a 401k? Should you put money into something so you can get it back later? Or should you just enjoy your life now and just hope for the best? Healthcare. Should you go into the doctor just to make sure that you don't have anything wrong with you? Or are you just making yourself paranoid? Are we going to make ourselves sick? What about the nocebo effect, the placebo effect? What about, taxes, all the different shit that we have to deal with? I would say that the more we involve ourselves, I was going to say the more money we have, but this depends on how that money is acquired. But the more money we desire to earn, for example, the more complicated our position becomes. It doesn't mean that our job is harder. And here's a huge difference. A difficult job can have two different meanings. It can mean that you don't even work that much, but when you do, you're constantly having to maintain and manage a whole bunch of people, deal with a whole bunch of different paperwork, do a lot of math. And then there's hard work that's just doing hard labor. Like, for example, my job is somewhere in the middle. I'm a carpenter. We do remodeling. I have to do a lot of thinking about how to make things work with an old house. So I don't just go in and sit on a production line or frame and just do the same thing every day. It's always something different. But in general, it's hard work in the sense of physical work a lot of the time. And then sometimes it's mental work. But it's not extremely complicated. If you need to find something out, then you do your research. Sometimes you don't know what finish to use on a certain type of wood or particular joinery techniques. But the more you look into it, the more you find that there's more than one way to skin a cat, as they say. I always hated that term, but I use it. There's a lot of ways to do things, and we're taught to do things a certain way, and then we learn later that, oh, there are other options. This further complicates it. And what I'm getting at here is, in centuries past, we had a limited option of jobs. You could be a mason, you could be a carpenter, you could be a merchant, you could be a fisherman. But now there are so many different avenues, so many different jobs, and, different campaigns to get people working with these tech firms, for example, on all these programs. And 10 years has passed where there's all these tech jobs, and now AI is all of a sudden casting a really dark shadow on a lot of these jobs. For example, a lot of the people who moved from doing labor into doing tech work are now fearful that they'll lose their jobs because AI can do it for them. Now, I know one thing for sure: AI isn't going to be building any, doing any remodels anytime soon. This is something my job is safe in that regard, but it doesn't mean that, it doesn't mean I don't want to be doing something else. I mean, I would love to have, love to have a job that brings home a lot of money where I can actually live and get the place I want and do the things I want to do. But that also brings me into that complication of worrying about it. Like, the more houses you have, or the more money you have, more problems, as they say. I think it's a common sense issue that more money, more problems really does ring true with a lot of folks, but it also takes away a lot of the stresses that we have in day-to-day life. So if we're living check to check, of course having a little extra money would be great. But for example, homeless people, a lot of them want a home, obviously. A lot of them want to get out of poverty. A lot of them want to move into the world of, their community, get their own place, work a consistent job. But a lot of them don't. And I understand it. There's a side of humans that says, I just want to live simply. That we are willing to sacrifice so much of what we could have, so many of these, amazing things that we could have and earn. It's not because we don't have the will as much as we don't want the stress. And I'm very torn here. I'm right in the middle somewhere, where if I feel like, as a custodian of money, if I had money, I could actually maintain it and do good things with it. But at the same time, I know that it would lead to more complications. But it's not just money. I mean, that's the biggest issue we face. I mean, complications with everything we do. Trying to make decisions about the future while trying to live in the present. How should I raise my kids? What kind of a job should I seek? Or, what's important to other people? What's important to me? What's important to the world? What should I be doing here? All these questions just burden us constantly. And the more information that we have at our fingertips, the more we can dispute what we believe to be true. This is why holding certain beliefs, even if they're delusions in the past, actually served societies pretty well in a lot of cases. For example, religions. As long as everybody's on board and everybody believes the same thing, at least you can consistently agree on certain things. Just like any pack or tribe or, group of animals, in the way that they're all going to do things different in each group, but they're going to have similarities. But there's going to be a central authority, there's going to be a chain, a hierarchy, things like this. And these are things we see in our society that are natural, but now they've become overcomplicated. Now, instead of the person with the most merit being higher up on the ladder, it's the person who, happens to, get the position because of nepotism or because of some diversity, training, where people are afraid to even interact with one another on just the basis of us being human beings. Hi, I'm a human. This is my experience. This is what I do. Okay, you can work this job. We've overcomplicated everything. Our politics. The fact that we still really believe that a left and right paradigm is normal, that you should only have two crusty old men to vote for, or even the fact that so much information that we have about our belief systems has caused a lot of people to think twice about what they believe to be true, only to find out that maybe they were better off just believing what they believed and just letting go of the what ifs, because we have to create a certain amount of illusion for ourselves. And I think that this gives people more comfort. The reason I believe this to be true is what I'm seeing around me. People with no culture, people with no taste, no, and I don't mean bad taste, but just like no interest in any cultural things, or it's buying into the ad campaigns of every single company and person through history. People are a lot of people are as dumb as ever. And I'm not saying that to be insulting or offensive, but rather we have a choice to dumb ourselves down or to involve ourselves in the truth. When you involve yourself in the truth, it becomes overly complicated. Therefore, I completely understand why people just sit back and live in their delusions. I can't do it personally, therefore my life becomes very complicated. Having to make assessments and draw conclusions on what's true and what's not, it's not the easiest thing. Anyway, I do my best to figure shit out, give my honest opinions and ideas, and then try to simplify my life as best I can, you know. I'd like to grow my own food, make my own furniture, live out in, you know, not the woods, but a little bit out of the city. But I know that the simple life isn't so simple. There are other complications. But these are complications that we've endured and that we're prepared for, that our ancestors dealt with. Things like inclement weather, building up your house, you know, working the land. These are things that are natural to us because our ancestors did them. Nowadays, sitting on a keyboard all day is not natural. We've made it natural. And when I mentioned this to my wife, I said, I think it was last night, and I said, you know, God, life is, you know, so damn complicated. We overcomplicate everything. And she said, yeah, but we evolved to fit our environment, which, you know, is absolutely true. We can eventually deal with these complications, but do we want to? And how far can we go with it? I know we have the capacity to think about and learn about many different things, and we can keep a calendar and all these things in our records so we know what we need to do at what time, but it would be nice to be free of that, wouldn't it? To just kind of take it one day at a time. I don't think that's possible today. Complications. Peace out.